You're not lazy and you're not broken and you're definitely not the problem. You want to know what the real issue is? You've been telling yourself a story that was never yours to begin with. So today we're talking about the most underrated way to change your life. And this is one that doesn't require more doing, more fixing, more hustling. It starts with changing your story. Because here's the thing. Most of us are shaped by invisible scripts. These are beliefs that we didn't choose, but that we repeat every single day. And these stories aren't just background noise. They're actually quietly shaping how we think, how we feel, and the choices that we make. But here's the good news. Once you can see your story clearly, you can begin to rewrite it. And that changes everything, my friends. So there's a well-known Chinese proverb, and it goes something like this. Be careful of your thoughts, for your thoughts become words. Be careful of your words, for your words become your actions. Be careful of your actions, for your actions become your habits. Be careful of your habits, for your habits become your character. And be careful of your character, for your character becomes your destiny. It's beautiful, right? It's beautiful and it's true. Our thoughts are that powerful. But here's something else that I've learned. Before your thoughts comes your story. Before you even think something like, I'm not ready, or I always mess this up, there's usually a deeper belief underneath. Something like, I have to be perfect to be loved, or if I'm honest, people will leave me, or I'm only valuable when I'm useful. Now, most of us didn't write these beliefs. They were handed down or they were modeled for us. Maybe they were formed in moments when we felt hurt or small or afraid. And over time, they became the lens we saw ourselves through without us even realizing it. So yes, your thoughts definitely matter, absolutely, without question. But if you want to change your life, you have to change the story that's shaping those thoughts in the first place. So if you're new to me, hi, I'm Kris. I'm a New York Times bestselling author, wellness coach, and stage 4 cancer thriver. And over the years, I've learned how to take care of myself and become what I call an empowered participant in my health. And I have had the privilege of teaching millions of other people how to do the same. And one of the most powerful tools that I use to help people make lasting change is creative transformational writing, which is what you are getting a taste of in today's session. All right, so I want to share a story about where one of my limiting beliefs started, and hopefully this will help illustrate my point. When I was about 6 or 7, I was misbehaving, probably just being a kid. And my grandmother, who I loved and who was usually my safe place, she didn't know how to deal with me. So she put on her coat and she grabbed her keys and she threatened to leave me if I didn't behave. Now, to be clear, she wasn't going to actually leave. She was probably just at her wit's end, but I didn't know that. I thought it was real. And either way, it was definitely wrong. She should not have done that. Especially because in that moment, I got the message loud and clear. If I express how I feel, I will be abandoned. And it cut me so deep, especially because it was a core wound of mine. My father, my biological father, had already left before I was even born. And guess what? I blame myself for that. If people leave, it must be because I'm too much. I'm too emotional. I'm too loud. I'm too difficult. I'm too. So I made a pact with myself, and it was something like this. Be careful, be good, be pleasing, and don't upset anyone. And that belief became a story that I told myself for so many years. But here's the problem. I've never been docile. I am headstrong, and I am passionate, and I am even rebellious. And I bet many of you are too. And trying to force all of that energy into a box labeled safe and acceptable, it only works so long before pop goes the weasel. Eventually, the parts that I silenced came roaring back through self-sabotage, through emotional outbursts, through addictions, and unfortunately, through hurting people that I loved. Because when we silence who we are, the truth doesn't disappear, it goes underground. And all of that pressure builds up until it finally breaks through because it has to go somewhere, and it often comes out sideways. And honestly, it wasn't until I was diagnosed, when I felt like even my own body had abandoned me, that I really began to examine the story that I had been living by. Everything and everyone can leave me, but I won't leave myself. And that was the shift. I started asking myself, what would it look like to have my own back? And I realized something radical. My feelings weren't problems to fix. They were messages from within, and every single one of them was trying to bring me back to myself. So today, that old belief that I had to earn love by being good, thankfully, it does not run my life anymore. And that's been a big part of my healing journey. So remember earlier when I said that most of our thoughts come from deeper stories? Well, most of us didn't write those stories ourselves. We inherited them from our family, from our culture, even from just throwaway comments that just stuck in our heads. And over time, they become so familiar that they start to feel like the truth. They might even fade into the background, like wallpaper you don't even notice anymore. But they're still shaping how you think, how you feel, and the choices that you make every single day. And then one day, you notice something's off. Or maybe you just feel stuck and you just can't figure out why. Well, here's the reason. The story has been running the show for so long that it has become your new normal. It's taken over in a way that you don't even see anymore. But here's the good news. Once you see the story, you can change it. Not overnight, but baby step by baby step. So how do you start? Well, that's where the kinder thought practice comes in. So let's break it down. How does this kinder thought practice work? When I catch myself in a negative loop, like when I'm replaying mistakes or when I am tearing myself down, I pause and I ask myself 3 questions. Number 1, does this thought support my health? More often than not, no, it doesn't. Number 2, what if the opposite were true? And then I think about, well, what would the opposite thought be? And number 3, what's one kinder thought that I can choose right now? Now, that last question is key because this is where the shift really happens. It doesn't have to fix everything, and it's not about forcing fake positivity or pretending everything's fine. It just has to be one small step up to something kinder. As the teacher Esther Hicks says, you don't have to leap from despair to joy in one thought. You just reach for the next best thought. Because kinder thoughts become patterns, and patterns become stories, and your stories shape your entire life. Now, does this practice work every single time? Of course not. It's like a workout. Some days you feel strong, other days you don't, but the progress comes from practice. And you don't even have to believe every kind thought right away. You just have to plant it. Because the words we repeat about ourselves are seeds. And over time, those seeds grow into the way we see ourselves. So let's practice. I want you to try this right now. I want you to write this sentence. I can't blank because blank. Now, what comes after the because blank? That's the story. So here's an example. I can't start my business because I'm not ready. I can't speak up because people will get upset. I can't take care of myself because everyone else comes first. Do you see how those aren't just excuses? They're stories. And once you see the story clearly, then you get to ask. You get to ask, is it true? Is it mine? And what's a more helpful and honest story that I can actually live by instead? So let me tell you another short story about when I needed a kinder thought the most. Hopefully this will help put things into perspective. So a few years ago, I was in a hospital waiting room and I was waiting on scan results. And as someone who's lived with stage 4 cancer for over 20 years, I know that moment really well, and I bet many of you do too. It's like you are sitting on a landmine of fear and you're just waiting for it to explode at any moment. I mean, my anxiety was through the roof. I'm running all of the worst scripts. I'm going to die. Who's going to get my jewelry? Is my husband going to remarry? Is he going to remarry a younger woman? Oh my gosh, I can't stand my husband. Who's going to feed the dog? The dog is going to die of dehydration. I'm the one that always does the bowl, and so on and so on and so on, right? Now, the old story in my head was really loud, and it was saying all that stuff, but it was also saying, you're not safe, Kris, and you are alone, even though my husband's with me, my family's with me. And it was also telling me, you can't handle this. So that's the thing about these old stories. They sneak in when we are the most vulnerable, when we need ourselves the most, and when we need our nervous system to be calm. And unless you notice them, they're going to run the show and freak you the F out. But here's where the practice comes in. In that moment, I remembered that I have tools for this. I don't need to leap from fear to joy because that wasn't possible. I just need the next best thought so I can calm myself down. So I'll be able to listen to the results when the doctor walks in the room, and I'll be able to take care of myself. So I got up and I walked into the bathroom because I knew I needed some privacy to do this work. And I looked in the mirror and I asked myself the question that I shared with you earlier. What's one kinder thought that I can choose right now? And the kindest thought that I could reach for in that moment was this: I love you. I've got you. And I just kept repeating it again and again, looking into my own eyes. I love you. I've got you. Until my body caught up with the message. Now, I still didn't know what the scan would reveal. That part was still out of my control. But I did know this: I was not going to abandon myself in my time of need, and that was enough. Look, most people change from the outside in. But when you change your story, you change everything it touches. Your thoughts, your emotions, your habits, your whole life, everything that we've been talking about in this video. And the best part is that you don't have to do it perfectly. You don't need to become someone else, and you don't have to wait until you feel ready. You can begin right where you are with one kinder thought. Because you are not the story. You are the author, and the pen is always in your hand. By the way, if any of this is hitting close to home, I actually made a free guided coaching session called Unstuck and Unstoppable. It just takes 5 minutes, and it is going to help you start rewriting the story that has been holding you back. You can find the link below in the description. And as always, take the best, leave the rest. I hope this helps you. I am cheering for you, and I will see you next time.